All right. Well, welcome to the call, everybody. My name is AJ Willoughby. I'm so glad to have you all on the doctor's call tonight. And we are going to be focusing tonight on the core. And we've got Dr. Templeman, who is going to be sharing and giving us the rundown here of everything. And for those that have not had a chance to hear about Dr. Templeman or really know about who he is and what he brings to the table here. Dr. Templeman has been around in this industry for a very long time. He is a general MD, and he has been all over the country. Not just practicing. Granted, he's been practicing most all of his life. Medicine, but he has been researching the mangosteen and so many other nutrients and different different botanicals all over the world, and he has traveled all over the world. He is the world's foremost authority on the mangosteen, which is our number one component that we have in our product called the CoreAO, which is what we're going to be focusing on tonight is the CoreAO. So what I want to go ahead and do, I'm going to let Dr. Templeman kind of take it from here, and we're going to get things going. And let's see, hit the little slides, and I'll get that as we start talking. So Dr. Templeman, I'm going to let you take over the show here.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be with you again. Folks, we've got a picture up there of the CoreAO stick. And I wanted to let you know some of the changes that have been made in this product. And again, I want to let you know that one of the reasons for which I decided to come to the M.Network was because of the attitude that they have that if anything can be improved, let's improve it. And if there are things which can be changed that will make the product more saleable and still retain the quality, let's change it. So when I first came over to see them about 2 months ago now, I expressed concern about a couple of things that were in the core, and I began to reach out to some of the distributors who I knew were using the core and to ask them for the strong points and anything that they may have had which they thought could be made better. Now, let me say this, that with regard to sales of all the products, we will in the very near future, and I'm talking a question of weeks only, be automatically sending out to everyone who purchases any product at all from the M.Network a specific request for feedback on that product. So it won't be a blanket questionnaire like I sent out to all of the distributors about a month ago, in which I asked them to comment on all products, but it will be a specific request regarding the products that they receive. And this will go out to everyone, whether they are members or whether they are consumers and customers only. Everybody will get a request to comment. Now, everyone, of course, is not going to do that. But if people are strongly impressed, favorably or unfavorably, they're likely to say something. So when I looked at the product, I thought, you know, we have no dangerous ingredients in it, but we do have something called crystalline fructose. Now, fructose simply means fruit sugar. And every time you pick up a banana, a peach, an orange, or any fruit whatsoever, and you consume it, you're going to be taking into your body a simple carbohydrate called fructose. Now, that would not be in its own a problem, yet if I were to say high fructose corn syrup, almost everybody would raise their eyebrows and say, gosh, do we have high fructose corn syrup in there? And the answer is no, we absolutely do not have high fructose corn syrup. But most people who do not understand that fructose is a simple sugar found in all fruits would immediately make an unconscious connection between fructose and high fructose corn syrup. And some of them did, in fact, comment back to me and say, I don't like the idea of the fructose being in there. I know that fructose is bad for us. Well, that's an oversimplification because fructose per se is not bad. But high fructose corn syrup certainly is. And so what I said to the company was, you know, we can keep this and still make it taste great and maybe also improve from one other point of view. And that was that in the people that I sampled, there were several who said it's really very sweet. And so for them, it was a little bit too sweet. They were solving the problem by diluting it in twice as much water as was indicated. And one lady even put it in a gallon of water because she found it to be very sweet. So when we chose a replacement for the fructose, we looked at things that would not move the needle very much for diabetics because we want our products all to be diabetic friendly. And the fructose was in there largely because of that. It is sweeter than many of the other things we could have used, and it also is diabetic friendly. So we stayed with something in the same ballpark and went to organic cane sugar. Now, organic unrefined cane sugar is closer to molasses than it is to the white stuff, which comes from the same plant after it has been highly refined. And we used a very small amount of it. The calorie value jumped from 5 calories to 8 calories, but that is still relatively unimportant for diabetics or other people who are watching their carbohydrates. And that made it a lot easier. Now, so that was the first thing that we changed. The second thing was that when you use fruit preparations, and in this particular case, we have a lot of fruit preparations. We have, first of all, the mangosteen as the major ingredient, but we have green tea extract, in this case, epigallocatechin gallate. We also have grape seed extract. We have an extract from acai. We have the bilberry, and we have the cranberry. All of these are very tart fruits, because when you're looking at fruits generally, those that are luscious and sweet by nature, such as the inside of the mangosteen or most apples, are not particularly high in the polyphenolic structures that the body can use. Generally speaking, the polyphenolic things that our body can use, and here I'm talking about the kinds of chemicals that plants make called phytochemicals, and the large category that encompasses pretty much everything that's in there would be polyphenolic preparations. And so they are the kinds of things that give the bitter, not bitter taste, but the kind of tart sort of thing that you get with a lemon is probably the commonest way that people feel that. And when you put a lemon in your mouth, it makes you want to pucker. And after you've been drinking or eating something with that in it for a long time, another one of the fruits that you feel this a lot with is, yeah, sure, there you go. I'm just thinking of this little fruit with the, hold on, the kiwi fruit. It makes you feel like you need to brush your teeth. You have a funny, and we call it mouth feel. And so in order to make the things taste particularly good and to make them palatable to people, we had added something from a preparation called Irish moss. It is another herbal product, but we added some carrageenan that was from Irish moss in order to improve that mouth feel and to make it be more acceptable than if we didn't have it in. But that particular product can cross-react with a very small number of people can be allergic to it who are also allergic to gluten. And so in my talking to folks, they said to me, we really are concerned about the carrageenan. And I said, look, we can replace that. And we did with something called gum arabic, another plant-based element that adequately gives a similar effect with mouthfeel. And that was the other major change that was made. And finally, we looked at the ingredients and we looked at L-arginine. Now, if anybody understands what nitric oxide is, it is the most powerful vasodilator that the body can produce. And it produces that from elements in the plant substances that we eat. The best example of what we would eat to get L-arginine, the precursor of nitric oxide, would be beets. And that's why sports teams sometimes drink beetroot juice when they're playing football or other activities. But it didn't seem to fit in because it's not an antioxidant. And so I thought, yes, it has great value as a supplement, but in fact, its value is so great that it should be the center of another product. And so we are working on the development of a product for a vasodilatory cardiac support product based around L-arginine, and we took the L-arginine out of the product. Now, what is the change, therefore, that people are maybe going to notice, and I would ask them to contact me if they notice it, is that the core, which is being shipped now actually at the moment, up until a few days ago, we were still shipping other product, but the core that we're going to be shipping now will be the new version, and it will not be as sweet. That's what you're going to notice. It may be actually a little more tart, again, representing the change that went on in there. And the L-arginine, you're not probably going to notice that at all, because I want to talk about today, the major ingredient which is in here. And again, you'll recognize that I'm talking about something not only for which I have an immense admiration, but something that I know quite well. And it's always easy to talk about things that you know better than things that you don't know quite as well. So the mangosteen is a remarkable, remarkable fruit. In my mind, and I think I've said this in one of the previous presentations, the mangosteen is unequaled by anything in the plant world, and nothing else is even close, with the exception of cannabis/hemp. The cannabis and hemp plants do have a wide range of effective elements in them to be able to let the body use things for numerous applications. So aside from the hemp and the cannabis, there's, first of all, the mango. If this were a horse race, the mangosteen is out in front by 7 lengths. And then comes hemp, and then about 4 lengths behind hemp comes everything else straggling all the way around the track. So it really isn't a race. There's nothing to compare to it. The term superfruit is a term that was coined by my partner. It was not coined by anybody in the supplement world or in the world of food. But very quickly on, that term was picked up, and within a year of us using it for the very first time to describe the mangosteen, it was being used to describe everything from pomegranate to raisins. And the use of that term is not justified for products which are unidimensional. And what do I mean by unidimensional? Well, there are a number of families of phytochemicals that are so active in terms of how the body can use them that they are recognized as important nutrients from plants. And those particular nutrients are from various families, as I suggested, about 7 families in total. And the mangosteen, unlike other products out there, has not one, not two, not three, because the most remarkable plant other than that one, and I've talked to you about it, only has three of these categories represented, three of the families, whereas the mangosteen has five of the seven families represented. And they are represented in strong quantity. So, for example, even though we talk about the family of xanthones as being the one that is attracting the greatest attention from the scientists and from the doctors who are researching it in more than 20 countries and in more than 30 universities, the other families are still well represented in this product. And catechins is another one of the important families that people who are studying phytochemicals would recognize as having great value. And specifically within the catechins, that catechin which is called ECGC. And that group of substances, the catechins, are more plentiful than the xanthones. They actually, by dry weight in the pericarp of the mangosteen product, which is where most pericarp means the rind or the hull. And in the case of the mangosteen, that's where about 98% of all of the ingredients that are beneficial for humans are found. But the catechins compose the 25% by weight. The xanthones are not so omnipresent, even though they are particularly powerful and have generated more than 600 research papers in the last decade. They are the things that everybody's looking at because people have in the past for more than 30 years studied and looked at catechins, and they're pretty much well known. The xanthones being present only in the mangosteen in commercial quantities are just new to the field and therefore are attracting a great deal of attention. Now, I mentioned before that one of the measures by which I determine as a physician whether a botanical, meaning something from a plant that can be used in medicine, has great value or not, is how many of the elements in any given plant or botanical have been copied to be made into commercial products. And the ultimate commercial product, when you look at value added, would be a pharmaceutical or a drug. So how many of these botanicals have given rise to drugs? Because if a botanical gives rise to a drug, it means that several randomized controlled double-blind trials involving at least 2,500 subjects, all humans, must have been completed in order to be able to get consideration from the regulatory bodies in the countries where they exist. In the United States, that would be the FDA, but at least two, and in most cases, three of these very, very large, extremely expensive, randomized, controlled, double-blind trials need to be done. Now, that means that nobody is going to spend the kind of money to do these trials, which are millions and millions of dollars. When you look at the costs of bringing a new drug to market, Tufts University, in its most recent publication this spring, said that it took $1.2 billion on average for one of the established pharmaceutical companies to bring a drug from first examination through to the point where it is on the market as an approved drug. So you can imagine that with the randomized controlled double-blind trials being the most important aspect of bringing a drug to market, that these are not the kinds of trials that supplement companies can afford, for the simple reason that drug companies are granted a patent because they alter natural products by chemically adding side chains, manipulating the molecules themselves to hopefully try and make them bigger and more powerful, but also to make them distinctly different from the natural product, because you cannot patent natural products. You have to alter them substantially to be able to get the kinds of patents which grant 10 years of commercial exclusivity to a drug company that brings something onto the market. Now, what the drug companies tend to do is to run those 10 years almost out and then to tweak their product just a little bit more and get 10 more years because they've altered the molecule again. Well, supplement companies cannot get patents for natural products. Hence, there's no commercial advantage to spending huge amounts of money to get the ability to make claims. Because in order to make claims, you need randomized controlled double-blind trials favorably comparing your product to placebo. And no supplement company has the margins or the wherewithal to compete with pharmaceutical companies in the spending of literally billions of dollars. So don't be waiting for the randomized controlled double-blind trials. There are only 2 of them for the mangosteen. One was done in China, and the other one, the mangosteen company Zango did in its early years against my recommendations. So the fact is that when you see drugs developed from botanicals, that's an indication of how important the botanical is. And I know of no botanical except the mangosteen where more than one drug has been developed. And in the case of the mangosteen, there are 2 preparations which are antibiotics that have been developed from the mangosteen, are being used principally against acne in Thailand, and a 3rd one in Japan, principally an anti-inflammatory type drug, combining both alpha mangosteen and gamma mangosteen, the 2 most common xanthones found in the product. So if you're curious and you want to know what is it about this core product that sets it apart from other things, frankly, it isn't the grapeseed extract. We put that in there because there are 2 very, very important botanicals in that grapeseed extract. One is called resveratrol, and many of you may recognize that for all of the press that it has received, and the other one is hesperidin. And those 2 things have a great track record of being extremely valuable to the human body when taken as a supplement. And so that is why we had the grapeseed extract in there. For the green tea extract, epigallocatechin gallate has more than 2,000 papers that have been written about it in the last 3 decades. So again, a very, very important ingredient that justified inclusion. The acai berry has really only 1 ingredient of importance, but it is powerful. The bilberry has a couple of ingredients, both of them powerful. The cranberry has a couple of ingredients, both of them particularly important with regard to urinary tract health. And those are the reasons why they are in there, but they're very definitely secondary players compared to the mangosteen. Now, this last week, I traveled to the Midwest. We were in Wisconsin and Michigan. We did, on 2 of the 5 days that we were gone, we did 2 meetings, and the other evenings we did a single meeting. We were in centers where there isn't huge population. Jackson, Michigan, for example, is not a huge place. And yet we were there with probably well over 60 to 70 people in a restaurant who came out and traveled, many of them for hours, in order to come to that meeting. We had another meeting in another relatively small town where we had over 104 people. And that was the case in the other towns as well, where there was one meeting which was smaller, but that meeting was so impressive that at the end of the meeting, even though there were only 20 some odd people in the room, everyone became an M distributor at the end of that meeting. Now, how did we start these meetings? I want to tell you a little bit about that because it's important. In our industry, in the supplement industry, because randomized controlled double-blind trials simply are not abundant and do not exist in large numbers, the kind of evidence that we get is considered to be weaker by academics, but it is, as a primary care physician, it is the type of evidence that was most important to me because it was subjective evidence and not objective evidence. And what do I mean by that? When I would try something in a patient who had come to me with a complaint, I would ask them to come back and see me usually in 2 weeks. And when they came back, I would say, now, how are you feeling? Because the first thing they told me about when they came the first time is, doc, this or that is not going well. I am having complaints. And so I was most interested when I had already given them something to hopefully make it better, whether it was a supplement or whether it was a drug. I asked them, how is it working? That's the same reason that I have insisted that we send out these questionnaires to people who may be using our products because they have something that they would like their body to work better at fixing. And that's why I want the feedback to be able to fine-tune things so that we have the best products on the market at any given point in time, because nothing is chiseled in stone. If there is something that is better out there, then we're going to include it in our products to make them better. So we started the meetings with this kind of feedback, the sort of thing that a doctor would ask you after having prescribed or given you a supplement. How are you feeling? And this is given in a First Amendment protected format. It is given as your personal experience. In a court of law, it would be considered the equivalent of an eyewitness to a crime. It is you not telling you what someone else saw or heard or observed, but what you observed. And these testimonials are moving experiences if you hear many of them, as we did. In the meeting, for example, where we had a couple of meetings where we had over 100 people, when we asked for volunteers who had experienced beneficial effects from the products that M had put out there and that they had tried, and remember, in some of these meetings, up to half the people had never tried any M product. So we were asking from a restricted number of people in the room, and we had 20 and sometimes up to 30 people standing up. So almost 2/3 of those who had used the products were standing up and saying, we feel so good about it that we want to talk about it. And talk they did. They got up and talked about many, many conditions that they had been attempting to deal with everything at their disposal, probably for years. Problems such as arthritis. Now, when the body is struggling with arthritis, and there are many different types of arthritis, but the commonest kind is osteoarthritis. It means the arthritis that manifests itself in joints only after years and years and years of extensive use of those joints. 60% of people over the age of 65 in the United States can be considered to be patients with arthritis of some degree. Sometimes it is so bad that they literally have to be in a wheelchair. They can no longer walk effectively. They can no longer sleep appropriately because of the pain of their arthritic joints. They can't get up and jump off the bed in the morning and begin their daily activities because it hurts them to get ready for the day. Because many types of arthritis are worse after you have been lying in bed and something called gelling has taken place. Now, you don't have to be tremendously imaginative to understand what gelling means. It means that the joints have been in a position during the time that you're sleeping where they aren't moving around, and they tighten up in that position. And when you try and move them around at first in the morning, you're stimulating pain receptors, and it is very difficult for many to get up and get going. So when the body's dealing with that kind of problem, and you're trying to give it something that is going to make a difference, anti-inflammation is the thing that you are seeking. And when it comes to plants with anti-inflammatory effect, and the scientists start to look at that effect. Remember, the drug in Japan is an anti-inflammatory drug, having picked up and modified actually no modification really, picked up alpha and gamma mangosteen, two of the xanthones, and combined them together in a product that only contains them, instead of all of the other things that are contained in the regular mangosteen. So that anti-inflammatory effect needs to be powerful in order for people to say things like this: I could not walk without so much pain that I had restricted my activities to the minimum. And now I can walk up and down stairs. What an announcement. I gave something to my body that it was able to borrow from plants, which also don't like inflammation, and they were able to incorporate it into the functioning of my body. It must have been in low supply previously, and my benefit was the reduction of pain that allowed me to get back to the full activities, or to at least a functional level of activities that I previously could not do. Now, when I look at the mangosteen and I look at the studies which are out there, there are studies that indicate that there are chemical cascades that go on in the body as a result of diet and other functions. There are chemical cascades which lead to inflammatory conditions. And these chemical cascades, there are about 6 that I'm aware of. And the mangosteen has been tested in laboratories, not in humans, but in animals, or in what are called in vitro studies, and shown to make a difference in these cascades, to partially or completely block them, so that the things which produce the inflammation to begin with, and which make it difficult after a night's rest in a single position to move a joint through its full range of motion without enormous pain, it interferes there. It allows the body to make the hyaluronic acid or the many other lubricating elements that joints require. It allows them to block effectively the continued production of the elements which are pro-inflammatory and which lead to the joint pain. Now, let me quickly make just a sidebar, and then I'm going to finish. There was a Time magazine that was dedicated a number of years ago to the process of inflammation as a cause of chronic disease. The whole magazine was nothing except a collection of the science at that time, about 7 or 8 years ago, of the elements that are the cause of disease that are attributable to inflammation, low-grade chronic inflammation. There is not a single disease that is associated with something that people have for months and years at a time that was not in that extensive list. And I will tell you this, the half-life of medical knowledge is only about 18 to 24 months. That means that everything that was known about a particular situation changes substantially every 18 to 24 months because of the increasing knowledge that is acquired by scientists in their experiments. And so that means that 8 years ago when that appeared, there's now much, much, much more knowledge than there was then. And it isn't contradicting anything that was said. So if you were to do a Time magazine completely on inflammation and the things that we know that it contributes to as far as diseases are concerned, today it would be more than 2.5 times thicker than it was back then. So is it surprising that at the beginning of these meetings where we have perhaps 100 people and half of them perhaps never having been exposed to the products, so we're really drawing from 50 people, and that when we ask who would volunteer to talk about what has happened that has been beneficial for them, that 20 to 30 people out of 50 are willing to stand up, talk in front of a group of people. How many of us have problems doing that? But they're willing to stand up, overcome the fear because of the enthusiasm that they are feeling, because they finally found something as a food that when they give it to their body, they denote benefit, so that they have followed the advice of the father of medicine who said centuries ago, let food be your medicine. And that's what they've done. And they're so enthusiastic about what's gone on that they're standing up and talking about it. Are they talking only about the core? No. In the majority of cases, they're talking about the core, frankly, but they're talking about the other products as well. Many, many people stood up to talk about the amount of weight that they had lost when they used the two products, Trim and Burn, to be able to suppress appetite and let them rearrange their relationship to food. This is admitting and looking at the fact of the problem of food addiction. It is real, and it is as powerful as any other addiction out there. When you light up the brains of people who are overweight or who are obese by giving them their favorite food, and it lights up with dopamine saying, man, I like this experience, because if it wasn't a fun experience, nobody'd be fat. But it is fun. Who can think of anything that's better than a French fry, maybe with a little bit of gravy and ketchup on it? I don't even have to say that before everybody's shaking their head and saying, yeah, I know that, I know that. Junk food tastes absolutely great. The food, I wanted to call them scientists. I hate to use the term, but those who develop food for the fast food industry are really good at what they do. Look what they've done with coffee at Starbucks. You got 100 different varieties and they all taste great. So they know how to hit the wow spot. And when they hit the wow spot, and you've got something that is going to be useless for your body in terms of most of the nutrient value, but wonderful as far as the mouth taste and feel is concerned, then you're going to get obesity. And that leads to the same kind of addiction that comes from the use of cocaine or heroin or pornography. It's all the same. You get a hit when you use that stuff. Now, the other things, you can actually wean them out of your life. You don't have to associate with people who use heroin if you are trying to get away from heroin. You don't have to go and associate with people who use alcohol to excess if you're going to have a problem with alcohol or any of the other substances that are out there, or pornography. You can refrain. But how do you refrain from food? It's all around you. You have to have it to live. and it is asking you to make choices that are as hard as the heroin addict's choice to stay away from the problem drug that they are addicted to. So is food addiction real? Absolutely it is. Is it hard to lose weight? As hard as changing your hair color with your mind? Yes. Do you need assistance to do that? Absolutely. A very supportive family and environment in order to be able to have the encouragement that is necessary to do something that hard, plus something to stop you from being hungry all the time. Something that will reinforce your willpower to help you be able to push the donut aside. Give it to the dog. But I know, I'll tell you, when you have fat people, you have fat dogs, because they tend to eat the same food, some cases, that their owners do, and they tend to eat quantities which are similar. So, by the way, we talked about the use of the products in animals, and know that some of these products can be used in animals right now, but know that we are developing products for use in animals specifically. And if you know a farmer who has a dairy herd and that has 70 cows, and that's not unusual, if you know a farmer and you can convince that farmer that there is benefit for the cattle in having some of our products, then you just got 70 customers by talking and convincing one person. And I talked last week when I was up north with a real remarkable herd manager, a man called John Young. And he told me, I'm never going to get old. I'll be young when I die. And I laughed because that's his name. But the fact is that John is working with herds that have upwards of 20,000 cattle in them. Can you imagine the possibilities for him? He was dancing a jig. He was into this deal as fast as he could go, because he and I worked with the mangosteen and animals before in the past. And he's going to do it again, and I'm going to do everything I can to help him. So we've talked an awful lot, not all of it about the core product, but an awful lot of it about the mangosteen. And this, my friends, is dose for dose the best product that you can get on the market today for mangosteen. And therefore, I encourage you that if you love the mangosteen, try this product, because you're not going to have to compete with a car payment. You're going to have to compete with a once a month dinner and a movie in terms of looking at what you will be spending to be able to have some of this in your life every day. Give your body the gift that it deserves. And that's all I got to say on it tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Templeman. I'll tell you, we have seen so many people with such great testimonies from the products and from everything, the core, the trim, the soul, the smart, the going. I know we've been covering those on these talks on Monday nights here lately. We've been going through all these different products, and you know, it is incredible. You know, we've got these, the taste that is there for everyone. We've got the benefits of each of these products with impacts in the body, that where people are not just getting results, people's lives are being changed. I mean, that's a difference of what it is that we have with these products. These are products that don't just get results. These are products that change lives. And to see that and to see what's happening, I'll tell you, if you ever want to find out now, well, what kind of a difference is it? You know, I encourage you to go online and go to Facebook, and we've got a site there, the Improve site, and you're going to see there on Facebook, you're going to see all kinds of testimonies of people that are getting results from these products. And you can see just right here, this is just an example of just a lot of these things that people are seeing, everything from mood enhancement with the soul to the weight loss with the trim and the burn, and the other things that, you know, from arthritis and the things that Dr. Templeman was talking about. It is just so incredible what we have seen with this. I'll tell you, we are a no apology company. With our company, you do not need to apologize for price. Like Dr. Templeman said, you don't have to worry about trying to am I going to be able to pay the car payment, or am I going to have to buy my product? Going to get to buy my products? You don't have to worry about that here. Everything is priced so affordably to where these products compete with what you'd find in the convenience store, not with what you. Even though they compete as far as the quality with the high end that's out there. Price-wise, we've been able to get the price down to the things that you'd be paying for if you were to go into the local convenience store, those kind of prices. The taste is an unrivaled taste that we have with all of our products. The shipping, very inexpensive to have it shipped. In fact, if you are on our Blue Box program where it automatically comes to you, it is only $5 to have it come to you, no matter how many it is. That you could be having 10 boxes of this product and it's still only going to be $5 coming to you. And the results, as we were talking about, and the branding that comes from this company is above all. In fact, the branding, the same gentleman who helps with all our branding puts that all together. He's one of the top leaders in our company in the corporate office. Will Pig, he comes from Walt Disney world. And so when he's not working for them or Major League Baseball team, this is his branding that puts on it all. So we are very encouraged on all this. For those that are looking at getting started, here's how you get started. There's a couple of ways to do it. Get with the person who brought you to this call. All right, we've got 4 options. I'm going to tell you about 2 of those options real quickly. One is the Apprentice Pack, and that is over on the right-hand side of your screen there, where you're going to see it's $149. If you're looking at this from I want to just try the products. Let's just see what it's like. You're going to get a box of the core that we've been talking about tonight, that Dr. Templeman shared with you tonight. You're also going to get a box of the Go. Now you can change that, just make a phone call to the company and say, hey, modify my order how I want that. Maybe you want 2 boxes of the core. That's how you can get started. And thing is what that gets you your membership with the company. So you are a wholesale member. You also get a Matrix Business Center, which is the way that you can go if you wanted to start building a business and making money with this. You've got a 24/7 back office here, a retail shopping cart, sales landing pages, customer support, all this stuff, plus your product that comes in there. Now, normally your product is only $39.95 for a wholesale member. It's a little bit more expensive if you're buying it retail. Being a member is a great way of doing this. Now, if you're one of those that wants to come in and do this as a business end, and you're looking at doing this from a financial basis, I highly encourage you to come in with the Elite Pack, because what you're going to get with the Elite Pack is you are going to end up getting a lot more product. You're going to get something of almost every product that we have, 7 boxes of the sticks from the Go, the Soul, the Core that we talked about tonight, the Smart, and the Trim. You've got all the products. You also get some sample kits that you can use for sending out to people. You've got $50 of gift card for the swag, the M Swag store on the back office. So you get set up with business cards or different things. They've got shirts, different stuff like that you might want to get. But the other thing is you get 2 business centers with this, your Matrix Business Centers, in addition to your main business. So it's actually 3 that it comes with in total. And what that is kind of like having a clone of your business. All right. It's kind of like opening 3 stores all at once, but you only have to work one, and the others get the benefits of the other, of the one that you're working. So it gives you a chance also to double dip and to increase your income by twice as much by doing this. So it's very, very, from a business standpoint, if you're looking at doing this from a financial and want to make some money with this, I highly recommend you go with the Elite Pack. So again, get with the person that got you on this call. We have several calls that we're doing all throughout the week, every Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, at the same time as this call. And they are also the same login information that you got on with this call. And you can get hooked up with the different calls and get in some of the trainings and everything that's going on. We're really trying to get people plugged in, stay plugged in, and really encourage everyone to get in with a call. Thank you so much, everybody. Dr. Templeman, again, thank you so much for being.
AJ, can I say something before you leave?
Absolutely.
I want to edify you and your wife how well you do this business. You people who are in AJ's downline, you could not have a better upline. And you saw that AJ and his dad, Andy Willoughby, is an icon in this business. And he is the one, along with AJ, that put together that no apology approach. Now, isn't that a tremendous thing coming from the field? Because I've seen people imitating that, using what you guys came up with. And I just want to make one more appeal to your folks. If you have a testimonial, grab your phone and do a selfie and send it to me, because I'm going to collect them. That helps me in my business. And I want to thank you, AJ, and your wife for the work that you guys do, and for your dad who taught you how to do it.
Well, thank you so much. Dr. Templeman, where should they be sending those selfies and those video
to my email, Dr. J.F. or just Dr. Templeman at M.Network.
Okay. Dr. Templeman at M.Network. Send those testimonials to him so he can use those and get those going. Thank you again, Dr. Templeman. Appreciate you so much and all that you do for us. So everybody have a great night. We appreciate you all being on, and we'll be talking to you later. Good night.